A chilling phone call in the dead of night. A missing boy, gone for 18 years, begging for help. A shadowy group lurking in the shadows. What happened to Michael Carter, and who's still watching? Stick around for a jaw-dropping tale of loss, secrets, and a fight for truth. This story's fiction, crafted from real-life mysteries for education and thrills. Want more heart-pounding cases? Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, drop a comment where are you watching from, and share this video. Don't miss the twist that'll keep you glued till the end. Rain hammered the roof of the old wooden house in Havenwood, Oregon, like 1,000 fists pounding in rage. Inside, the dim glow of a single desk lamp flickered, casting jagged shadows across the living room. James Carter, a weathered man with calloused hands and haunted eyes, slumped in his armchair, staring at a faded photo of his son, Michael. It was 10 at night, March 15th, 1999. And the storm outside roared like it was trying to tear the world apart. The phone rang, sharp and jarring, slicing through the drone of the rain. James jolted upright, heart thumping. Who'd call this late? He stumbled to the kitchen, where the old rotary phone hung on the wall, its cord tangled like a noose. He grabbed the receiver, his voice rough. Hello? A pause. Then a trembling voice, low and broken, whispered, "Dad, it's me, it's Michael." James froze. The room spun. Michael? His Michael? The boy who vanished 18 years ago, when he was just 7? His grip tightened, knuckles white. Michael, is that really you? Where are you? Dad, I don't have much time, the voice said, urgent, almost panicked. They're watching me. You gotta come to the forest. Near Havenwood. Please hurry. A faint sob cracked through the line, then click. The call died. Michael, James shouted, slamming the receiver down. His hand shook as he dialed the number back, but all he got was a cold, endless beep. Dead. Gone. Just like that day 18 years ago. James, what's wrong? Mary's voice cut through from the hallway. She stood there, her apron still on from dinner, her face pale under the flickering light. Her eyes, once bright, now carried the weight of years spent grieving. It was him. James choked out, his voice barely a whisper. It was Michael. He's alive, Mary. He's out there. He stumbled to the coffee table, yanking open a drawer. His fingers fumbled through old bills and junk until he found Ida worn photo of Michael, grinning with those big brown eyes. But something was wrong. A jagged tear ran across the boy's face, like someone had slashed it with a knife. James's stomach twisted. Who did this? He muttered, his voice shaking with dread. Mary gasped, clutching her chest. James, that's impossible. Who'd do that? And why now? Lightning flashed outside, illuminating her terrified face. James didn't answer. He couldn't. His eyes locked on the ruined photo, the storm's howl drowning out everything else. Somewhere out there, in the dark, rain-soaked forest, his son was calling for help. Or was it a trap? The question hung in the air, heavy and unanswered, as thunder roared like a warning. Fog clung to the streets of Willow Creek, Havenwood, Oregon, on the morning of March 15, 1981, like a ghost refusing to leave. The air was damp, heavy with the scent of pine from the looming forest nearby. Michael James Carter, a 7-year-old with curious brown eyes and a toothy grin, tugged on his blue school backpack, ready for the 6-block walk to Havenwood Elementary. His mom, Mary, 32, fussed over his jacket in their cozy wooden house, while James, 32, a grease-stained mechanic, gulped coffee at the kitchen table. Michael, eat your pancakes. You'll be late, Mary said, her voice warm but firm, as she slid a plate across the counter. Mom, can I take the forest path today? It's faster. Michael pleaded, his eyes sparkling with mischief. No way, kiddo. James cut in, ruffling Michael's hair. That trail's no good. Stick to the main road, like always. He planted a kiss on Michael's forehead. Be good at school, champ. Those were the last words James spoke to his son. By 8 in the morning, Michael hadn't shown up at school. Helen Brooks, the kind-eyed owner of the corner store, noticed he didn't wave as he usually did, buying gum with his pocket change. She shrugged it off, thinking he'd rush past. But at recess, Michael's teacher, Mrs. Helen Brooks, realized he was missing. She sent a note to the Carter's house. Mary got the note by noon. Her heart sank. Michael never skipped school. She retraced his route, her sneakers pounding the cracked sidewalk, asking neighbors, shopkeepers, anyone. Nothing. Then, Elijah Stone, a grizzled recluse who lived near the forest, muttered something chilling. "Saw a kid like Michael that morning," he said, eyes darting nervously. "He was with a guy in a leather jacket, heading toward the woods. Didn't look scared, but I didn't know the man." Mary's breath caught. The forest? That wasn't Michael's route. She sprinted home, tears stinging her eyes, and found James at his garage, tools scattered. "He's gone, James," she sobbed. Elijah saw him with some stranger. James dropped his wrench, face paling. They scoured Willow Creek, knocking on doors, shouting Michael's name into the misty dusk. By 4 in the afternoon, they stormed into the sheriff's office. Sheriff Frank Larson, a burly man with a lazy drawl, leaned back in his chair. "Kids skip school, James," he said, scribbling in a worn notebook. "Give it till tomorrow. He'll turn up." "He's not that kind of kid," James snapped, slamming his fist on the desk. "Something's wrong, Frank. I feel it." Larson sighed, but his eyes flickered with something unreadable. Outside, the forest loomed, dark and silent, whispering secrets no one could hear. James stared into its shadows, dread coiling in his gut, as a single question burned. What took his son? Rain lashed Willow Creek, Havenwood, Oregon, for weeks after Michael's vanishing in 1981, turning the town into a soggy, haunted shell. James Carter quit his mechanic job, his hands no longer steady, his nights sleepless. He trekked miles through the dripping forest, flashlight slicing through fog, calling Michael's name until his voice cracked. Mary, hollow-eyed, joined a support group led by Letitia Hayes, a kind social worker, at the community center. There, she met Clara Vaughn, a jittery woman with a secret that made Mary's blood run cold. "I saw a boy like Michael," Clara whispered one rainy evening, her hands twisting a tattered business card with a strange symbol, a triangle, with an eye inside, in a rundown house outside Portland. They called it a safe house, but it felt wrong. I bolted before they caught me. "Yeah. A safe house?" James growled, leaning across the table, his voice thick with desperation. "What's that mean? Is my son there?" Clara's eyes darted away. "I can't say more. They're dangerous, James. I'm sorry." She slid the card to Mary and fled into the storm. Meanwhile, Grace Harper, a sharp-tongued reporter from the Havenwood Gazette, sniffed out trouble. She dug into old files, uncovering 5 other kids who'd vanished near the forest over the past decade. Each case was hushed up, buried by Sheriff Frank Larson's office. Grace cornered James at a diner, her voice low. "Something's rotten in Havenwood, James. Larson's hiding stuff. I found erased police reports. And those kids, all linked to that forest." "You saying Larson's in on it?" James asked, his coffee mug trembling in his grip. "I'm saying he knows more than he's letting on," Grace replied, sliding a photo of Michael's scorched sneaker, found deep in the woods, across the table. James and Mary expanded their search, plastering missing posters across town, but every lead fizzled. Then, a chilling package arrived at their doorstep, a torn scrap of Michael's blue backpack with a note, "Stop looking. He's ours." Mary clutched it, sobbing, while James punched the wall, knuckles bleeding. Neighbors rallied, searching the forest, but whispers of a shadowy group in cloaks spread, fueling dread. One night, Grace and James met in secret at her office. "I found this," she said, holding up a grainy photo of a man in a leather jacket near the forest, the same triangle symbol etched on his belt. "This guy's tied to something big, James, bigger than Havenwood." Before James could answer, headlights flashed outside. Sheriff Larson's voice boomed through the rain. "Carter, you're digging where you shouldn't. Back off, or your family pays. The door slammed shut, leaving James and Grace in darkness, the symbol's eerie glow burning in their minds. Beyond the window, the forest loomed, its secrets clawing at the edges of their sanity. The storm battered Havenwood, Oregon, on October 8, 1999, as James and Mary Carter sat in their dim living room, surrounded by relics of their lost son, Michael. The phone call from Jaime 18 years after he vanished still echoed in their skulls like a ghost's whisper. At 10:15 at night, a soggy package arrived, dropped on their porch like a bad omen. Inside was a scratched cassette tape, its label blank. James jammed it into their old player, hand shaking. Michael's voice, now deep but unmistakable, crackled through. "Dad, I saw the symbol, a triangle with an eye. They're watching me. Come to the forest near Havenwood." Mary clutched James's arm, her face pale. "He's alive, James. Our boy's alive. But who's they?" Before James could answer, the phone rang again. He lunged for it, heart pounding. "Michael?" he rasped. A cold, unfamiliar voice answered, smooth as ice. "James Carter, stop digging. The boy belongs to us now. Come to Phoenix, and he's dead." The line went silent. "Who was that?" Mary demanded, her voice trembling. "Some creep calling himself a watcher," James growled, slamming the receiver down. "We're going to Phoenix." Grace Harper, the relentless reporter, burst into their house, soaked from the rain. "I've got something," she said, tossing a file onto the table. It held grainy photos of a shadowy group called the Watchers, linked to kidnappings across the Northwest. Their symbol, a triangle with an eye, matched the one on Clara Vaughn's business card. They ran a network in the 80s, snatching kids for illegal adoptions, maybe worse, Grace said. "Michael's in Phoenix, living as Michael Bennett." "How'd you find that?" James asked, his voice sharp with hope and dread. "David," Grace replied. "Your son's been digging too. He tracked adoption records to Arizona." David, now a journalist, called from Portland. "Dad, I found Michael's new name in a shady adoption agency's files. He's in Phoenix, but something's off. The Watchers are still active." "We're flying out tomorrow," James said, his voice steel. "Book us tickets." That night, Mary found a photo in the package, a recent shot of Michael, 25, his eyes hollow, the triangle symbol scratched into the background. "He looks broken," she whispered, tears falling. As they packed for Phoenix, James dialed Michael's number again. The same cold voice answered. "You were warned, Carter. The Watchers see everything." The call cut off. James stared at the phone, dread coiling in his gut. Outside, lightning flashed, revealing a figure in the rain, watching their house. The triangle symbol glinted on a ring he wore. James grabbed his coat, ready to chase the truth, but the figure vanished into the storm. The forest beyond their window seemed to pulse with secrets, daring them to follow. The Phoenix sun scorched the cracked pavement as James and Mary Carter pulled up to a tiny suburban house in October 1999. Their son, Michael, now 25, opened the door, his brown eyes haunted, yet familiar. The reunion was a gut punch, tears, embraces, and a flood of pain from 18 lost years. Michael, raised as Michael Bennett by Thomas and Laura Bennett, spoke softly. "I was taken, Dad. A man named William Decker grabbed me that day. Said you didn't want me. You are." James clenched his fists, voice raw. "We never stopped looking, son. Never." Michael's story unraveled like a nightmare. Decker, part of a shadowy group called the Watchers, ran a network that snatched kids for illegal adoptions. "They kept me in a house outside Portland for weeks," Michael said, his voice shaking. "Taught me English, told me my parents were dead. Then I was sent to the Bennetts. They didn't know I was stolen." Mary sobbed, clutching his hand. "You were 7. How could they do this?" Grace Harper and David, now a dogged journalist, arrived with a bombshell. Grace slammed a file on the table. The Watchers weren't just adoption scammers. They ran experiment psychological stuff in kids. Havenwood Sheriff Larson? He covered their tracks. David pointed to a map. There's an old safe house in Phoenix. Michael was there before the Bennetts. We need to check it. So, they drove to a derelict house on the city's edge, its windows boarded, the triangle with I symbol carved into the door. Inside, they found dusty files listing hundreds of kids, Michael's name among them. Clara Vaughn, the jittery ex-watcher, appeared from the shadows. I worked for them, she confessed, voice trembling. I helped move kids, but I couldn't stomach it. I ran. Before she could say more, a gunshot rang out. Clara collapsed, blood pooling, as a masked figure fled. Michael lunged after him but stumbled, a shard of glass slicing his arm. "They're still out there," he shouted, panic in his eyes. James helped him up, heart racing. "Who's doing this, Clara?" "Talk." Clara gasped, dying. "The Watchers. They're everywhere. Larson. He's one of them." Her eyes fluttered shut. Grace found a hidden room filled with tapes and photos, some showing Michael as a boy, his face blank, like he'd been drugged. A fire erupted, flames licking the walls. James grabbed Michael, dragging him out as the house burned. Outside, sirens wailed, but a figure watched from the desert scrub, the triangle symbol glinting on his ring. "We're not safe," Michael whispered, his voice breaking. "They know I found you." James gripped his son's shoulder, resolve hardening. "Let them come. I'm not losing you again." The flames roared behind them, hiding secrets that still stalked the shadows, waiting to strike. 1 year later, October 2000, the Carter house in Willow Creek, Havenwood, Oregon, stood quiet under a gray sky. Michael, now 26, tried to rebuild a life with James and Mary, but the scars of 18 lost years lingered. He wrestled with guilt, torn between his loving adoptive parents, Thomas and Laura Bennett, and the family he'd been stolen from. "I want to be your son," he told Mary, voice cracking, "but sometimes I feel like a stranger in my own skin." Mary hugged him tight. "You're ours, Michael. We'll figure this out together." The Watchers network crumbled after Clara Vaughn's death exposed their crimes. Grace Harper's articles in the Havenwood Gazette sparked a federal investigation, unmasking Sheriff Larson as a conspirator. He was arrested, along with a dozen others, but the mastermind of faceless figure known only as the Eye remained free. Several kidnapped kids were found, but many families still searched, haunted by empty answers. James, hardened by years of loss, never let his guard down. "They won't take you again," he told Michael, his voice like steel. "I'll fight till my last breath." David, now a crusading journalist, kept digging, uncovering links to other towns. "The Watchers are bigger than we thought," he warned James. "They're still out there, watching." One chilly morning, a letter arrived, no return address. Inside was a faded photo of Michael at 7, smiling, with a chilling note, "We're still watching." The triangle, with I symbol, was scrawled in red ink. Mary gasped, dropping the photo. "They're not done with us," she whispered. Michael stared at the letter, his face pale. "I remember that symbol, from the safe house. It's burned into my head." Dr. Emily Nguyen, a psychologist specializing in trauma, later analyzed the case. "Michael's ordeal shows the deep wounds of abduction," she said. Victims face identity crises, torn between two lives. Families like the Carters need years of support to heal, but the fear of lingering threats can trap them in a cycle of dread. The Carter story is a stark warning. Never leave kids unwatched, especially in quiet towns where danger hides in plain sight. Stronger child protection laws and global cooperation are vital to stop trafficking networks like the Watchers. The family stood together outside their home, the forest looming nearby, its shadows whispering secrets. Michael clutched the photo, his voice firm. "I won't let them win, Dad. Not now, not ever." James nodded, eyes scanning the trees. "We're ready for them." A cold wind swept through, carrying a faint, eerie hum from the forest. Was it the wind, or something darker? The question hung unanswered, the symbol shadow still stalking their lives, promising the fight wasn't over.